Hello, I'm Joanna Davidovich, and I have an opinion about something. News recently broke that Hulu has ordered 2 new seasons of Animaniacs episodes set to premiere in 2020. I have been asked what my opinion about this is, and I have so many thoughts about it that I just had to make a video. So my opinion of an Animaniacs reboot. But first, my opinion of reboots in general. I'm not against reboots. Hollywood has a long and noble tradition of being unoriginal. They've been unoriginal from the very beginning. It just seems out of proportion now because things are being created on an exponentially larger scale than ever before. And working a property that already has name recognition and a fan base is a good gimmick. That's just reality. It's just good business. Of course, some reboots stink on ice. Some reboots are good. Some reboots are really good. So I think an Animaniacs reboot could be really... But first, how does Warner Brothers handle reboots? As big a fan as I am of Warner Brothers, even I gotta admit they don't have a stellar track record. And when they finally get something that is good in its own unique way, they just reboot it again. So I think an Animaniacs reboot will be... But first, you gotta know what kind of an Animaniacs fan I am. Here are some storyboards that I acquired through totally legitimate means. This one I got signed by Rob Paulson, Jess Harnell, and Tress MacNeille. And I wrote so many letters to Warner Brothers that I actually got a unique letter from senior producer Tom Ruger that commiserated with me about the ending of the show, and it was such a nice letter. I've kept it ever since. And this is the coolest thing that's ever happened to anybody ever in the history of anything. Okay, just hold on.
It's WB. Not as many as Joanna Davidovich, that's for sure.
I'm a bigger nerd than the fat guy from the Please Get Alive Foundation. Yakko said so. So, yeah, I like Animaniacs. So, I think an Animaniacs reboot will be really... But first, what makes Animaniacs so special? A show like DuckTales, say, is a strong concept. You got your main characters and adventurous stories, and that's DuckTales. But Animaniacs is Animaniacs because of more than a concept. There are several factors that go into it. 1, the format. It's a variety sketch show. You never knew what you were going to get. There was the odd 20-something minute long special now and then, but more often than not, it was a mixture of cartoons of all lengths. You had songs and segments, wraparounds, cold opens, as well as the main cartoons. The unpredictable structure of the show reflected the zaniness of the content. But that's a really expensive format, which is why most shows have consistent running times. Next factor is music. Every episode was individually scored using a gorgeous 35-piece orchestra, including Carl Stalling's old studio piano. No sampling, no synthesizers. Every movement, from the grandest chase scenes to the tiniest of eye blinks, was uniquely timed and scored on sheet music for a real-life musician to play. The magic of that cannot be overstated. And the songs, the lyrics and melodies are actually quite sophisticated if you listen to them. One could, and I do, compare them to the great songs of Cole Porter and Noel Coward. Really clever. The third factor, animation quality. Now, even though I'm a huge fan, I admit the animation quality wasn't 100% perfect 100% of the time. It took several animation studios to produce the animation on Animaniacs. So you're gonna have a variety of studios, so you'll have a variety of styles and a variety of quality. But that never really bothered me as a kid or even now, because even the Looney Tunes looked drastically different from director to director. It seems fitting, but by and large, the characters and personalities just shone through the animation. And there's really very little use of limited animation in the show. Even the lowest quality animation studios had some classic cartoon appeal. And next, humor and tone. Animaniacs was very much a product of its time, but it had an undeniable link to the great humor of the past. You can draw a line from vaudeville through film and radio, through Looney Tunes, all the way to Animaniacs. I mean, the rhythms, the setups, and the payoffs. The writers and artists definitely had an understanding of the past, and it's in full display on Animaniacs. When was the last time you saw an anvil gag? Without these things, it would not be Animaniacs. I don't know if budgets exist on any network that would allow for the lavish musical scores and wonderfully appealing frame-by-frame animation. Can you imagine sampled, recycled music playing over puppeted animation or CG animation? But it might still be fine, but it would not be Animaniacs. And the most important thing, the crew. Steven Spielberg is without a doubt one of the great creative geniuses of our time. But he is not why Animaniacs was what it was. He wasn't in the trenches. He just got the right people for the job and let them work. And as of right now, none of the original crew have been tapped to return to work on the reboot. Can anyone write songs like Randy Rogel? Can anyone score music like Julie Bernstein or like the late and great Richard Stone? Can anyone come up with the layered jokes that work for both kids and adults, feeling both classic and modern, inventing scenarios that are crazy, charming, and weirdly educational like Paul Rudd, Peter Hastings, Sherry Stoner, and all the other writers, directors, producers, and story artists whose names are so numerous I'll probably just put them on a text scroll right now? Can anyone create characters like Yakko, Wacko, and Dot and lovingly shepherd the whole shebang like senior producer and showrunner Tom Ruger? I'm really asking. Can anyone do that besides those guys? There's lots of animated shows that I have liked a whole lot since Animaniacs. There are writers, artists, and creators that are great. There's no doubt about that. I'm not trying to say that it's never going to be as good as it was in the good old days. It's just that trends have changed. Budgets have changed. The whole tone of animated series has changed. It's different. There isn't anyone keeping that link to classic comedy alive. The fact that the crew behind Animaniacs did it at all is an incredible achievement. I don't know if there's anyone out there who can replicate those voices behind Animaniacs, because I haven't seen any evidence that anyone else can do that in the past 20 years. I want to read you a snippet of that letter that Tom Ruger wrote to me in 1999. He said, "I miss seeing new Animaniacs adventures. I miss the entire cast of Animaniacs, the Warners especially. I suspect that someday someone at Warner Brothers will realize that for one brief shining moment, they had lightning in a bottle. They didn't know what to do with it, so they opened the bottle and let the lightning drift away. The creative team that built Animaniacs is gone. The actors are still available. The writers could be brought back. The artists would jump at the chance. The directors would love the opportunity to return. But it doesn't look like Warner Brothers wants that to happen. Things could change in a week, a month, a year. In general, I'm a pretty optimistic guy." So, I took that to heart in 1999, and I'll take that to heart now. I know it's just a cartoon show and it's not worth making a huge deal over. It's just that it meant a great deal to me a long time ago, and it still does. I can't help it if I have an opinion.